Welcome everyone. Today's lecture is on skeletal muscle relaxants. So what are skeletal muscle relaxant means? These are the drugs which relaxes and reduces the tension in the muscle. Or in simple words, you can say that these are the drugs which causes relaxation of skeletal muscle. Learning objective. By the end of this lecture, you will be able to classify skeletal muscle relaxant, explain the pharmacology of skeletal muscle relaxant, explain the mechanism of action of curare alkaloid, and explain the pharmacological action of succinylcholine. Skeletal muscle relaxants. So they are basically used to reduces the spasticity of skeletal muscle. What is spasticity means? It is a motor disorders in which certain muscle contract rapidly and involuntarily, causing muscle stiffness or muscle tightening that will result in the restriction to the movement, gait, and speech. So this skeletal muscle relaxant, they act peripherally and as well as centrally. Peripherally, they are going to act at the neuromuscular junction or on the skeletal muscle fiber itself, and centrally in the cerebrospinal axis, and their main action is to reduce the muscle tone or to causes paralysis. So we will study in detail about peripherally acting muscle relaxant in today's lecture. So they exhibit their action by acting directly on the skeletal muscle fibers or on the neuromuscular junction. So accordingly, they are classified into two categories, that is neuromuscular blocking agent and directly acting agent. So neuromuscular blocking agent, the site of action will be the neuromuscular junction. Directly acting agent, the site of action will be the directly on the skeletal muscle fiber. So let's see the classification of peripherally acting muscle relaxant. It is classified under two headings. That is, first one is neuromuscular blocking agent, second is directly acting agent. So neuromuscular blocking agent is further classified into two categories. That is category A, non-depolarizing competitive blocker, category B, depolarizing blocker. So under category A, it is further classified into three categories depending on the duration of action. The first one is long-acting, example D-tubicurarium, pancuronium, doxycurium, papicuronium. Second is intermediate acting, example vicuronium, itacurium, sisa, tracurium, rocoronium, refracuronium. Third is short-acting, example Miba curium. Category B is depolarizing blocker, example succinylcholine, which is also known as hexamethonium and dicamethonium. And category second, or the main second category, that is directly acting agent, example is dantrolene sodium and quinine. So first we will study in detail about the neuromuscular blocking agent. So neuromuscular blocking agent include both competitive and as well as depolarizing blocker. So the site of action of the competitive blocker and depolarizing blocker is muscle enclave. So first we will talk about regarding the competitive blocker, which is also known as non-depolarizing blocker. So here the prototype drug is D-tubicurarine and it is obtained from curare alkaloid. What is curare alkaloid means? It is a plant extract which is basically used by the South American tribal as an arrow poison. So they are going to apply the curare alkaloid onto their arrow and they are going to hunt the animal. So the animal is going to get paralyzed. It is not going to kill the animal, but the animal is going to get paralyzed. So the active ingredient which is present in the curare alkaloid is D-tubicurarine and it is obtained from the plant, that is Chondrodendron tomentosum. Let's see the mechanism of D-tubicurarine. See, generally we know that acetylcholine is going to bind to the nicotinic NM receptor, which is located at the neuromuscular junction, and it is going to open the sodium channel, due to which depolarization will happen. That is contraction of muscle. What D-tubicurarine is going to do means it is going to have a structural similarity to acetylcholine. So D-tubicurarine will come and bind to the nicotinic NM receptor, which is located at the neuromuscular junctions, and it is going to block the actions of acetylcholine competitively. So due to which the sodium channel will not get open. Okay, or opening of sodium channel is going to get inhibited. So that will lead to no depolarization and the muscle will undergo relaxation. So let's see the pharmacological actions of D-tubicurarine on skeletal muscle. IV injection of D-tubicurarine will rapidly produces muscle weakness followed by flaccid paralysis. Flaccid paralysis is a neurological condition and in which the muscle weakness will happen. Second is histamine release. D-tubicurarine will releases the histamine from the mast cell. Third one is cardiovascular system. So in cardiovascular system, the D-tubicurarine is going to produces a significant fall in BP, and this is because of three reasons. The first one is ganglionic blockade. Second is due to the release of histamine. And third one is reduced venous return. So why there is a reduced venous return means because of paralysis of the limb and the respiratory muscle. And fourth is central nervous system. So all neuromuscular blocker are quaternary compounds and they do not process the blood-brain barrier. Adverse effect, that is respiratory paralysis and prolonged apnea, that is cessation of breathing due to the paralysis of respiratory muscle. Fall in BP and cardiovascular collapse and precipitation of asthma. Therapeutic uses, it is used as an adjuvant to general anesthetic. It is used to facilitate intubation as a type of artificial respiration, and it is also useful for the severe cases of tetanus and status epilepticus. So next we will see depolarizing blocker. Under that, the example is succinylcholine. So what succinylcholine is going to do means succinylcholine is going to bind to the nicotinic NM receptor, which is located at the neuromuscular junctions, and it is going to causes the opening of the sodium channel. And this will lead to depolarization, and that depolarization is going to spread to all over the muscle unit, and that will lead to the repeated excitation of muscle unit or fasciculations or persistent depolarization will happen. Okay. And that is going to followed by flaccid paralysis. So this depolarizing agent, they are going to produce a dual mechanism, and it is divided into two phases, that is phase 1 and phase 2. So in phase 1 is very rapid in onset, and what is happening in phase 1 is that succinylcholine is going to bind to the NM receptor, which is located at the neuromuscular junction, and it is going to cause the opening of sodium channel. So due to which there will be a persistent depolarization, okay, and that persistent depolarization is going to produce a fasciculation, that is muscle twitching, and which is followed by flaccid paralysis. So this is going to happen in phase 1. So phase 2 is slow in onset, okay. Due to continuous exposure to succinylcholine, the depolarization will get decreases and the membrane is going to get repolarizes, okay. But here what is happening, the receptors will become desensitized to acetylcholine, or you can say that the receptors will become insensitive to acetylcholine. So due to which the acetylcholine will fail to restore the neuromuscular transmission. Okay, so at this point, the complete neuromuscular blockade is achieved. So this is what happening in phase 2. So remember, in phase 1 block, there is a persistent depolarization which produces fasciculation followed by flaccid paralysis. And in phase 2, slow in onset, and here the membrane is going to get repolarized due to the continuous exposure to the succinylcholine. The membrane is going to get repolarizes, and the receptor will become desensitized to acetylcholine. Okay, so due to which the acetylcholine will fails to restore the neuromuscular transition. So at this point, there will be a complete neuromuscular blockade is achieved. Adverse effect of succinylcholine is that hyperkalemia. So persistent depolarization will lead to the outflow of potassium, that will lead to hyperkalemia. Second is cardiac arrest and arrhythmias. And third one is prolonged apnea. Fourth one is malignant hypothermia. So this is a condition in which there will be an increase in fever. High fever will be there, high heart rate will be there, and muscle twitching and muscle spasm will be there. And this is going to precipitate it with given with halothane or ether anesthetics. Therapeutic uses of succinylcholine is that it is used during electroconvulsive shock treatment, and because of its rapid onset and short duration, succinylcholine is useful with rapid endotracheal intubation, okay, during which is required basically during the induction of anesthesia. And last is directly acting agent. So in that, the example is dantrolene, so which is going to act directly on the skeletal muscle. Means what it is going to do means dantrolene is going to bind and block the ranodine receptors, which is located on the calcium channel, and it is going to inhibit the release of the calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So low level of calcium will inhibit the muscle contraction, or there will be a decrease in the muscle contraction, and that will lead to the relaxation of skeletal muscle. Adverse effect is diarrhea, sedation, muscle weakness, hepatotoxicity. Therapeutic uses is that treatment of malignant hypothermia and treatment of neuroleptic malignant syndrome. Thank you.